Yeah, if the problem is school segregation on one side, school overcrowding on the other side, and kids on both sides are suffering the consequences depending on where they live, well, good luck finding a compromise. And that's pretty much the situation here in Huntersville, one of several towns where CMS supporters are squaring off against the suburbs. This is the CMS they want you to see in a commercial made by CMS, about CMS. But here's what the commercial doesn't show you.
That it's the most racially segregated school district in the state.
The civil rights attorney who says Charlotte-Mecklenburg has too many mostly white schools. And the former CMS student who says there are too many mostly black schools.
I speak up here as a student who saw the benefits of desegregation. Frankly, I was lucky. I got integration. Everybody didn't get integration.
The pressure comes not just from the white community. Our schools are profoundly economically segregated as well.
And the school board member who says there are too many mostly poor schools.
And we need your support to help us stand up to that.
They're all speakers at this event, billed as a crucial conversation about the future of school integration.
One of the things that's always striking when I think about Charlotte and how we got from there to here is how quickly everything unraveled.
It all started back in the 70s when the courts ordered busing in Charlotte to balance the black schools with the white schools.
Today's ruling says, in effect, that busing and school pairing are acceptable means of eliminating racially identifiable schools.
CMS busing and the integrated schools that came with it went on for decades, until another court order in 1997 said busing was no longer needed for integration, which brings us to today.
That there is this implicit threat that if you, school board, try to do something that might address the segregation in the traditional public schools, we have an option to leave.
Mark Dorison is a civil rights attorney from Chapel Hill, talking about the move by Mecklenburg suburban towns toward opening their own charter schools in competition with CMS.
Charters are like a sword of Damocles hanging over the heads of any school board that's really seriously committed to taking on the issue of segregation and resegregation. This authority was created in reaction to a commitment by CMS to try to create more integrated traditional public schools. And it was pushed by communities that are happy with the status quo, which is that the schools their students attend are high white, affluent schools.
Well, that statement couldn't be any further from the truth.
Huntersville Mayor John Annarella says his town's interest in charter schools actually came after a $1 billion bond referendum by CMS 2 years ago, with only one new school for North Mecklenburg. He adds that in Huntersville, the issue isn't race or wealth, it's overcrowding.
And we felt that CMS, once again, was not building schools where children are or will be. In Huntersville, we have thousands of children that are on wait lists for charter schools, so obviously there's demand for it. And I think really my sense is that people are looking for some certainty about where their children are going to go to school.
At Huntersville Elementary, one certainty is that at some point, all these kids, black or white, will wind up in the rusty, crusty mobile classrooms out back, behind the main school building. You can tell the mobiles have been here at Huntersville a long time. Just look at the size of these shrubs outside, overgrown, just like the school itself.
I don't understand the racism quotes. This is about trying to establish good quality schools for every child in North Mecklenburg.
And again, that's not a white issue or a black issue. You know, who wants their child, high school, middle school, elementary school, to spend the majority of the time in trailers? That's certainly something I didn't want for my children.
Dr. Michael Stevens isn't just a CMS parent, he's also senior pastor at the City Church in Huntersville. His congregation here is mostly African American. A lot of families with their kids in CMS schools too. And Stephen says the Huntersville he knows is a long way from elitist.
Because you still have pockets of poverty, you still have pockets of fragile neighborhoods within a 3-4 mile radius of Huntersville. So I'd have a hard time accepting that. In fact, I would counter that and say we're not to that elitism environment in Huntersville. That's just not who we are.
You feel like your people in this congregation, for the most part, are comfortable with the idea of public charter schools in Huntersville?
If I had to say percentage-wise, I'd say it's a good 60-40 split. 60 being comfortable, 40 there's some concern still. And again, I think the conversation stems more toward the quality, not necessarily location, not necessarily whether it's public or even charter, but where can my child have the best opportunity to succeed?
By the way, that civil rights attorney from earlier in our story, well, he says he expects legal action to stop Huntersville and the other suburban towns from ever opening their own charter schools. Meanwhile, there's a bill in Raleigh, House Bill 514, that's already passed, giving Huntersville, Cornelius, Mint Hill, and Matthews all the green light to go ahead with charter schools.